Okay, I just wanted wanted to try and communicate for posterity the subtlety of what's going on here. So this obviously is the old one, which has been my friend for 6 years. I worked out the other day, 6 flipping years this January. I made it in January. It took me a solid month, and when I say a solid month, I mean it was the whole of January, about 10, 12 hours a day, times 30 practically. Don't remember taking a day off. And the reason it took so long is really to get it right, to get it accurate, and to establish a method of doing it. Now I learned huge amounts, and I've been applying the lessons here. But strangely, it's still taking me a huge amount of time to establish the methodology. Now, this curve, what you're seeing here, obviously these four jets are all angled precisely at the same angle. The angle is both vertically. So can you see there's a very tiny angle there? Inwards, just very subtle. It's surprising how subtle that is. It makes a huge difference. Basically the water has got you can either send the water straight up, and that tiny angle in creates the beautiful waist of the water pattern, which is absolutely essential, because that waist is what you're playing with, to me anyway. Okay, and then the other angle, which is just as important, is the one to the horizontal. So it's the degree that it goes up, basically. So if you had it flat, you'd have a flat water display, flat at the top and then falling with gravity. If you had it straight up, it wouldn't spin at all. So the horizontal component of this angle, the angle happens to be 51 degrees, or 52 actually, which is weirdly the axis of the Earth. Weird coincidence? But there you go. It's about 52, 51 degrees from the horizontal. So that means that the horizontal component is what spins it, and the vertical component is what sends it up in the air, up high. So the more the vertical component, the higher it goes, but then the less horizontal component, therefore the slower it goes. This seems to, just about pure trial and error, is the optimum. So I'm respecting that. That took, after I finished making this, I've spent years fiddling with that angle by bending this pipe, basically bending it that way, putting my laser pen into the nozzle and accurately sending it off mirrors and blah blah, to accurately get them all the same, because that's the key thing. They all have to be the same, and it almost doesn't matter what angle, as long as they're the same, because as soon as they're out, you get a shit pattern. They have to be the same. So hence the methodology here, because it's easy to put a beautiful angle on any one jet, and it will always be beautiful, but will it be the same as the others? And that's where you've got to be systematic and rigorous. Okay, so yeah, and also this has got to have 6 jets, so this is going to be added. There I've been aligning 4 jets, and now I'm aligning 6, which is another reason I needed to really hammer down the methodology. And also, the reason I'm doing this is so that this whole setup is ready for the next one, so I can hopefully make another one in a really, really short time, because all the work has gone into the setter, the jig, the former, whatever you want to call this setup, this contraption. Obviously, you have to remake. Yeah. Anyway, so what I wanted to communicate is just the intimacy with which you need to learn, or the intimacy in which I needed to learn this curve, because it's a really, really important thing. So you had to. So I had to. So yeah. So what I'm saying is I'm respecting this setup, and I'm basically replicating the angles. Replicating the. It's going to be the same shape because it's a tried and tested shape, water shape. So I'm basically replicating that. However, there are some important differences in the pattern. So I don't know, and I won't know till I finished it, or mostly finished it, what the pattern is. So it's a bit scary, but basically, yeah, because this swoop is much shorter than that one. See that one, each swoop was 3/4 of a turn. Whoop, 3/4 of a revolution, each one. Each one is 3/4 of a revolution. Here, it's half a revolution, which makes the swoop, I think, to me, it's going to make it much sexier. It's going to make it more visible. I was using the inspiration of how they paint the conical, the cone on the inside of a jet engine, so that you can see it spinning. They put a very fast swoop on that cone, because it's spinning so fast, and most things when they spin fast you can't see them turn. It's just a blur. So that's why I've gone for this much steeper, shorter swoop. So hopefully you can see it actually turn, which is definitely makes it more intriguing. And then the opposite swoop, which is just a scaffold. The inside thing is a scaffold for the outer water spouts, the outer water pipes. They're going to do the same thing but in the opposite direction. So there's going to be an interesting, that thing where spirals are both going inwards and outwards at the same time. This should be a really, really good optical effect. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. So yeah, but what I wanted to communicate is just how subtle and how intensive you have to understand this curve. You're looking at every inch, and all the way to the end. And there's the spout. That's the final jet. There's my 51 degrees to the horizontal, and looking downwards is a tiny, very hard to measure, but the tiny angle inwards. Now there is a little bit of room for manoeuvre after I've soldered it, but not a lot. So there's a lot of commitment here. So given that there is this different dynamic with this shorter swoop, and by the way, let me say that each jet is going to be 3.4 millimeters. Okay, this is 4 millimeters, 4.1 almost. So that's a huge difference. That's like 10%, which if you square it is about 20% in terms of difference of water outlet. So so the exit water, so I'm using the same pump, I'm using the same setup for everything, which is why I've done it like this. So I can just swap these around, that's the idea. I can just, yeah, so it's not that radical. I'm keeping a tried and tested system, but swapping the dynamics, swapping the heads, the fountain head, which I think I wish I had a better name for it, but this is, whatever you want to call this, spinning fountain head. It's the absolute kernel of the whole of the Dancing Fountain project. Everything has come from this. And this one was number 5 or 6. This is number 6 or 7. There were others, but this beauty, absolute beauty, it's not just because it looks beautiful, but because it's robust. It's a robust system. It's a system. Everything I make is a system. It's really important to look at it like that. It's not just an object, it's a system. And the reason it's a system is that you can dismantle all this and put it all back together again, and it will be exactly how it's supposed to be every time. It doesn't change. You don't have to refiddle with it after you've dismantled it, because it's a good system. So I can take the central system, the central axle out. The pin obviously goes in there, but I can take that all out. I can clean it, I can adjust it, I can remachine the head if I want to. I can do a lot of things to it and put it all back together again, and it will be where it's supposed to be. Now that's no mean feat, because anybody that builds things knows that when you pull things apart and put it back together again, they never go back exactly the same again. Well, it's very hard that they do. And this has to be accurate, otherwise you've got a shit pattern, and you've got a shit fountain, and you've got a shit display, and the whole thing is shit. So it has to be a system. And that system was developed here properly, I would say. This was the first one that I properly developed, the system. The idea is the 5th or 6th, but the system, this one was the first. And this is using the same system, tried and tested system, with slight variations. But if you expand the system, I mean, what is new is this lower wheel here, because I'm also making the whole, it doesn't sound that radical, but if you look at this, the actual height of the jet above, well, basically this one is longer. So that's going to change the pattern. I don't know how it's going to change it. We're going to find out. But it will make it. The reason why have I done that is to make. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Anyway, but the other difference to improve the system is these jets. They were fixed. Well, when I say fixed, the what you put the jets into was fixed. Now here I've got this delicious new idea, which is a coupling which you can take off and remachine. Look at that. I can just pull that, take it. There we go. There it is. And that will remain removable, which is delicious. That was not movable. So it just means that down the road, if I have any issues, or if I want to play with a different jet, I can take this off, machine it, I can replace it, and blah 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 blah. Which was really annoying with that one. How fixed, how stuck I was in the way I made it. So that's a revolutionary, radical difference in terms of the jets. The jets is a whole other story. I will make another video about that. But anyway, for the meantime, I hope I've communicated the thinking that's going on here. So yeah, thank you.